So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to demonstrate how they told me I had court just minutes or hours before court. And what I say is, I tell my attorney this is the day of court. I'm talking to him at 8 a.m. I tell him not well. You see that? I explain to him, how are they going to do this? I've had over a dozen final revocation hearings. My court's been bounced around 7 times in just 20 days. Okay? So, he says, it'll be hard for me to get your case dismissed if you don't attend. I have no idea what the correlation between me being well and his ability to get my case dismissed. And I'm concerned the judge will issue a warrant for you if you fail to attend court. After I've spoken to him and told him that I'm not well. Okay? So, this is my attorney saying that. Now, let me show you how these court dates are bounced around on me like crazy. Here's one court date. See this? These are by automation. They're sent to me straight from the lawyer as soon as he gets them automated. This is from the filing system of the federal courts. See it? Changed again. 5th to the 7th. Here it is. Changing again from the 3rd to the 5th. And it just keeps on going like that. So, another final revocation. I mean, if I showed you all the emails where I have a final revocation, you'd just say, oh, wow, what the hell's the point of calling it final? It's certainly not final. So I could go through here and show you a ton of these that are the same format. Activity in the case, you know, just activity in the case. You know, tons of these things that are just completely illegal. Let's see. Another scheduled thing for the courts. But I'm going to cut it short there. Now I'm going to let you listen to the actual conversation in which he is speaking to me, and I'm telling him I'm not well. It's like these people held my life hostage, and then when it kind of feels good, like you filed the motions, you took up these positions, but it feels like for me, it's like, why have I been suffering under Todd Cantamessa and his relentless insistence? I'm just pure ego. I'm talking like insane ego. That he even has the rights to even tell me anything in this life. Anything. That man is a stranger to me now. Do you understand something? Since I put this YouTube channel and you filed that motion, that sucker hasn't even called my phone one time. One time, Kurt, he hasn't called my phone. The guy who was blowing my phone up daily and just eager to report to the judge anytime I didn't return his call promptly, as if that's even a condition. It's not.
Of course it worked, because as you saw in the footnote, the prosecutor agrees that under Campbell, there's no stick, right? As far as like...
Right, which is also why I've now called the Office of Professional Responsibility and filed a complaint about Adam Delph, because the fact is, he's been sitting there watching a fraud happen this entire time and done nothing about it. And I don't want to hear he's ignorant of the law. Good, get a new job. You're not qualified to be a U.S. attorney if you sit there and watch a defendant get treated the way I got treated and not speak up as your oath demands you do and correct the situation. They have their own internal affairs, as you well know. It's the Office of Professional Responsibility. I've emailed them an insane amount of evidence that Adam Delph is absolutely 100% guilty of playing along, watching me get my rights violated. Do you understand the fraud that's going on, Kurt? Let me explain something to you. This hasn't been put on YouTube yet. Yes, I'll show you a fraud right now. Let me show you what the fraud is. The fraud is this. Just look for this video. It'll come out this evening. The U.S. courts, District of Oregon, calling a case that doesn't exist and fraudulently, deliberately, knowingly falsifying the court record. Each time my case is called, watch the video. Judge Mcshane will say this. Do we have everybody here on the reason matter? Okay, let's go on the record. Ms. Pugh called the case. Ms. Pugh proceeds to call. In the case of District of Oregon, case calls the case number. After calling my case number, she calls United States versus Michael Reason. Whoa, wait a second. There's no such case. Does not exist, point blank, period. No case exists in the District of Oregon that says that name, period. She calls it. Adam Delph knows his file does not reflect that case. He plays along with it. What happens when I get the transcripts? What happens when I read the minutes preceding the case on Pacer? Melindo versus America. Melindo versus America. Not reason. Now, Miss Pugh does something interesting in each case. She calls the case wrong, or different, I should say. Wrong also, but different. One time she calls it Michael Reason. One time Michael Joseph Reason. One time Michael J. Now, I've been to the federal courts, as you know, several times before you and I met. Okay? They never call the case wrong, ever. For one reason. It's right in fucking front of them on a screen, right? It's right there. It's physically in front of their faces. It's impossible to mess up. Just read the screen. But when you're calling a fictitious case that doesn't exist anywhere, it's completely contrived to cover your ass for a summons and a situation you're trying to mitigate liability for, and all of a sudden the court is now telling you to call Reason versus America, although there is no such case. Judge McShane knows there's no such case, but is asking her to call Reason versus America. And she's playing along, and Adam Delph's playing along. And Todd Cantamessa is sitting there, no one's saying shit, period. I've got it recorded, them doing that each and every time, and the transcripts and the court minutes that show nothing but a fraud has been perpetrated here. There's no such case. They all know it. And what proves they know it is how they enter the minutes afterward to reflect, as if the record said, as if the words spoken in that courtroom were Melindo versus America. Even the transcripts say Melindo versus America, although contrary to what is going to go on YouTube tonight, there is no such case as Reason versus America. The case they're calling is not the case that's on the record. It's a fraud. It's deliberate. No way around it, period. Explain how that's not a fraud. Calling a case that doesn't exist. Are you representing a case named United States versus Michael Reason? No, you're not. So how the hell is anybody standing for that blatant, gross fraud happening, molestation of the court record, falsifying the court record after the fact to say Melindo versus America as if that's the case they called? There's going to be an accounting. Trust me, there's going to be an accounting. That's not lawful. That's a fraud by definition. It's meant to deceive. It's meant to cover up what they've done. Point blank. If they were to acknowledge correctly and correct the court record, correct the file, correct the Pacer, correct the indictment, guess what would happen? Bye-bye case, bye-bye everything. There's no legal mechanism for that. It's a complete acknowledgement that the whole thing was illegal in the first place. As is Todd's new amendment that nobody's bothered to point out, all of a sudden has all this additional information that was added to a petition as summons given to a court and signed by a judge based on what was on it at the time it was presented, not with all these new amendments, including a whole nother name, including a marshal's number, including the bold-faced, gross example of perjury where Todd says in his petition amendment, the new one, he says, I bolded the additional information so the court can identify it. In other words, I put in bold print what I've added to the amendment, or what I've added to this summons. Guess what he doesn't put in bold print? He doesn't put the addition of my name. He doesn't put the addition of the U.S. Marshal's number. He doesn't put the addition of several other key facts. Misleads the court to say, I bolded everything that's new so as to identify what's new. That's called perjury when the box says, I sign it under the penalty of perjury. Explain.
Especially since like, he added your name. Like,
Thank you. Thank you, Kurt. When that judge signed that, he...
And that's not bold, right? Like
Right. Now you get it. It's blatant. Blatant.
To amend the original petition for the new information has been bolded to aid the court in identification. Well, Michael Joseph Reason isn't bolded.
Thank you. I saw that the very first moment I read that, or had you email that to me. I immediately made a video about it and a PowerPoint presentation where I put the two documents side by side, and then you see illumination come on all the additional things, and with explanation for it. You just watch the video. See what I've been doing is loading them up, waiting to just bombshell them with reality. Come the moment they try to get even slightly aggressive toward me. And that's this moment. I'm drawing the line right here. This little charade is over. It's over. The only one that ain't got the memo yet is the people perpetrating it. It's over. Trust me. The Office of Professional Responsibility been contacted, and when this shit, see, I don't know, I may allude it to you, but I got the ACLU took interest in my case already. You know, I've gone through the intake process with them. They are like, you have been royally screwed. And there's news media outlets who, quite frankly, I don't agree with their politics, but they don't agree with the judge very much either. And they are all over the idea of laws not being filed and you know, enlightening me to what is I was unaware of, called impeachment. I mean, they're serious as a heart attack that when people are deliberately violating laws and not upholding oaths, that there are politicians that would love to start that kind of proceeding. And like I said, I'm not aligned with them politically. It's not my ambition, but what I'm telling you, these people, Kurt, have been fucking me in the most egregious way, the most hardcore way you can imagine. And I have all the proof of it. It's not something I can't demonstrate. It's not me just claiming it. You see, I can prove that judge has been calling a case that doesn't exist. How does he account for that? Explain that. United States versus Michael Reason. Do we have the people here on the party call the case, Miss Pugh, and there's no such case that exists? I mean, honestly, you've been there, you were present for it. How does he account for that? And then afterward, the minutes reflect Melindo versus America. Order as to Melindo. Order, everything's Melindo on the record, but it's not spoken in court. You cannot change history. They're scrambling. If you watch them on Pacer right now, if you watch these documents, they're doing so many amendments trying to rewrite history, but all they're doing is creating further evidence because their amendments coincide with my YouTube publications, and they're just trying to cover their tracks and, like I said, rewrite history. But
are you talking about that, like, Todd? I know they
Todd is starting to say things about my mother's health, about giving me permission to go for 5 days. Although he gave me permission in a window of time, I explained to him I could not possibly go, nor would it make any sense for me to go because my mother was due to be out of the hospital, and why would I go prior to her being out of the hospital? What his response to me was, hey, it's now or never. The judge wants you to go on electronic monitoring at this date, and that's going to happen no matter what, and you ain't going while you're on it.
And I saw something about, so we got a transcript that's number 28.
Yeah, and the date is not even on it correctly, and it doesn't reflect the proper hearing, and it has the wrong name that wasn't called in court.
So did they fix all that?
Shit, Kurt, they fixed it when they're looking at YouTube. When I say, hey, here's something interesting. Let's get this court reporter, Kelly, and let's go fire her immediately. She's took an oath to transcribe what happened at the hearing. That hearing didn't even take place on that date. First of all, the name that's on this court case, Dan Melindo, was not what was called in the courtroom. I played it right there for the whole world to listen to it. Do you hear what's called? Is that what's said there? How the hell and who has the power in this equation to make that happen? Every party is silenced. No one's saying, hey, judge, wait a second. None of our case paperwork says reason on it, period. Why are we calling that case? There's no such case. Secondly, the record, the official transcript, is completely contrived, forged, fraudulently altered, molested court record, a fucking transcript of all things, supposed to be untouchable, absolute truth, 100% accurate. Across the board, the same repeated, deliberate molestation of the record, Melindo versus America, knowing goddamn well they're calling United States versus Michael Reason. Please, from a lawyer's perspective, a defense lawyer of all things, try to defend that, Kurt. I mean, seriously, I'm not being an ass. I'm just saying, try to defend him. There's no defense for that. How do you defend such a thing? It's not the kind of air you can brush off as, you know, some other shit, especially in light of me making repeated complaints to Todd that you summoned Dan Melindo. Do you remember when I sent you the email and I said, Todd, it was over last summer, I got so pissed at him, I said, dude, I don't give a shit. Put a warrant out for me. Who are you going to write on the warrant? Dan Melindo? Go find him. He's with the DOD, Department of Defense. He's on a ship in Southeast Asia. Okay? Go arrest him. That's who your summons says you have under summons. You couldn't put a warrant out for Michael Reason if you wanted to. You don't have me under summons. You know what he did? Nothing. He did nothing after I threatened that to him. I told him right to his face. I sent you the text. I said, Do it. I dare you. You're going to look like a royal idiot when you have to explain why you want Michael Reason on a warrant for a summons named with Dan Melindo. He didn't do a damn thing. He just said, that was about the time that he started telling me, hey, are you going to participate? We want to dismiss your whole case. Remember that rhetoric? Hey, get a hold of me. They want to dismiss your whole case. They want to dismiss your whole case. The prosecutor, you email me, Adam Delph is prepared to dismiss your whole case. Come on. I don't know who the hell they think they're playing with. Honestly, it's going to end up bad for them. Real bad. And I'm not saying that as a menacing threat at all. It's just the truth. When you do these kind of things, this is our courts. I mean, I know you guys are the officers of the courts, but this is the people's court. That judge is there by means of the electorate.